Hey everyone, thank you for tuning in to our second virtual fan trip of TTG Aussie Fest week. It's time to get out and about and to discover some of Australia's most beautiful spots for nature and wildlife lovers in this session, which is devoted to Australian wildlife journeys. This one comes in two parts. First up, we're going to whisk you to the top end in Northern Territory to hear from incredible bushman and owner of Lord's Kakadu and Arnhem Land Safaris, Sab Lord. He's been connecting guests to the top end, remarkable natural beauty and Indigenous culture for 30 years. And then he's going to be followed by David Doodle, who's the founder of Australian Coastal Safaris, who operates out of Port Lincoln in South Australia. And he's going to wow you with the stunning beauty of the Eyre Peninsula and tell you everything that travellers can see there. Following their videos, we're going to have a live Q&A with them and also with John Daw, Executive Officer of Australian Wildlife Journeys. Firstly, over to Sab and enjoy the video.
Hi all. Just like to show you a virtual reality of the Northern Territory and what we do and explore a unique part of Australia. Still some of the wildest country still left in Australia, but also to show you the difference between the areas that we visit, from Kakadu National Park, which is the World Heritage Area, right through into Arnhem Land, which is Aboriginal owned. And it's roughly 76,000 square kilometres, and the uniqueness in there is just unbelievable, right through to Bamaroo Plains. Myself, I've been guiding for 30 years. The company Lord's Kakadu and Arnhem Land Safari is quite a unique company that we take care of the needs of what any individual, as it's all private, so we can cater to the marketplace. So for us, it's an important part of the journey that you will experience. So we'll go through. Fog Dam is quite a unique area. It's a Ramsar site as well for the protection of the migrating birds that come through, and the bird density there is quite amazing, especially just after the wet season. Through until the end of the season, you'll get a lot of migratory birds that come from down south, from Papua New Guinea, down to this area to visit it because of the food supply and controlled. So it is a quite unique area for photographing tours, but also for people who really want to have a look at the birds. So as you can see through this video, many species of birds, more than 370 species of birds actually are in the top end, and you'll see a quite diversity of them at any time of the year. The big numbers, of course, are later in the year. There's a golden orb spider, beautiful big spider, yellow-breasted there. So it's amazing. Leaning Tree Lagoon is just off from Fog Dam, another beautiful area with lots of water lilies, and the water lilies will be there the whole year. And it's one of the most diverse in water lilies there. Of course, again, lots of birds, and it's right on the edge of Kakadu. So it's a nice spot to pull up and just watch and look at the amount of birds that are there. This year, we've had really good rainfall, so it'll be lots of crocodiles, of course. Top end is renowned for Crocodylus porosus. But we also have the more elusive freshwater crocodiles, which you will see at Davison's. So the emphasis of the tour is basically to give an overall experience, not on one particular, unless you're a photographer, which then we can cater for early morning, late afternoons. Yellow Waters is another special place within Kakadu National Park. It's owned and run by the Aboriginal Corporation, and you can get a private tour here or join a tour. I always recommend 8 and smaller, because they do have a boat that will do the private stuff where you get your private guide. There's only a couple of places you won't have me or Dean or Lee as your private guide, and this is one only because of the Aboriginal ownership of this place. There are lots of crocodiles here, of course, lots of birds in the environment, and it's protected under the World Heritage, which occurred in 1983. This is stage 1. These buffaloes here of course, with inside Kakadu, but there is a very controlled situation with Kakadu with feral animals. The vehicles that we use, 200 series GXLs, and firstly trailers. I have a bush camp. I call it an African bush camp in Kakadu, and everyone that stays there really enjoys it because you're away from the crowd. Everything's cooked on the open fire. We supply red and white wine and beer, of course, but you can sit around and enjoy the conversation or talk about the day. We do have a family of kookaburras that live there, and 9 times out of 10, they'll be there to wake you up in the morning. If you intend trying to sleep in, that just doesn't happen at the camp, as it's quite noisy. The camp is rustic, but we supply all the home comforts of the camp. So you don't feel that, oh, geez, it's a bit rough. Or we have all beds, fans, lights within the tents. And it's only 100 metres or so to the ablution block, but it makes you feel like that you're in the wilderness. So for that factor, it's important. Arnhem Land, of course, is completely different. Arnhem Land is quite a unique experience. We're one of the few companies that have permits to enter quite remote areas in Arnhem Land where you can experience with guiding Aboriginal people or take you up on hill walks. The art centre is magnificent. It's Aboriginal owned, and roughly 70% of that money goes back to the local Indigenous people who do all the work. But you'll see an incredible amount of art. But I think the greatest thing is there's not many people there, and you get to meet an Aboriginal person, a genuine person. It's not touristified, and I will be really strict on that. But because the English is their second language, sometimes people do have a misunderstanding, but we will help with all that detail, explaining what it all means. The scenery, both in Arnhem Land and Kakadu, is amazing. To be able to look across and you see nothing, you don't see towers or whatever like that. And just to listen to the bird life is quite amazing. And as I said, we have a huge diversity. So for photographers, it is a place to come. I have travelled to Africa more than 25 times. We don't have the big five, but we do have incredible amount of waterfalls in Kakadu, and the bird life is just spectacular. So again, I say we can cater for that. A great time actually to come to Kakadu in Davison's and Bamaroo Plains, which is just coming up now, is March and April. Not many people, lots of water, and it's just spectacular. It's not too hot to visit then, and the emphasis is really on these floodplains that are at the background of this picture. Comfort, luxury at the high end, and we go out and do the drives. Important thing here at Bamaroo Plains, as you can see, we're the only company allowed to drive on the station, and we are the only guides that are allowed to operate the airboats and take people on a personal basis. So from the time you get picked up in Darwin until we drop you off, it's all a personal experience. And that's, I think, the big winner for Lord Safaris, is because of that ability to really get to know you and our clients, and basically for them to ask, oh, what were you interested in? What would you like to see? Instead of just jumping on with 6 or 8 other people. But again, the photography, as you can see here, you got water buffaloes. That old cow's about 18 years old. You've got Jabiroos, the only true stork in Australia. So it's amazing. Davison's is an incredible, amazing place. Again, we're the only company allowed to do all the guiding. It's a bit more of a rusky look, but they've all got en suites. The eating house is amazing. They have a chef there that he's come back 4th year this year. And the Aboriginal heart here is just not the factor, but also the scenery, these Leichhardt grasshoppers. You got waterfalls for the first couple of months of the season when it opens up, and a billabong that's unique with the amount of wildlife. Also, people are into fishing. This is a good place to go fishing up until about the end of July. you're just about guaranteed to catch a fish, especially this year. But of course, there's plenty of big snapping handbags there. I mean, look at this fella. He's massive. I mean, you don't want to go for a swim there. He'll always offer a bit of money, but you're not going to do that. So it is a unique place. Then you've got all these little small birds again that are around. But the water lilies, and at Davidson's, we also do a sunset trip, which people just get quite blown away with the sunsets there. Again, it's quite a vast country that we do. We do a lot of kilometres, but it is an incredible experience that hopefully a lot of you will come and see.
Thanks, Sab. G'day, everyone, and many thanks for tuning in. My name is David Dowdle, the founder and owner of Australian Coastal Safaris, and it's an absolute pleasure to be here and talk about what we do in the magnificent region that we operate in, that being the Eyre Peninsula of South Australia. The Eyre Peninsula is like no place on earth, rugged, remote, pristine, pure, whether it's on land or at sea. The EP is a region of outstanding biodiversity. Our landscapes are vast, contrasting, pleasantly uncrowded, making this region a rich natural bounty to explore. It's one of the few places in SA where you can still find tracts of land with nothing but nature, unspoiled, and that's the best. We have a spectacular, rugged, raw, untamed coastline that stretches for over 2,000 kilometres, flanked by stunning limestone cliffs, sweeping footprint-free and deserted surf beaches, sheltered coves and bays. Highly regarded as nature's playground, only place in the world where you can safely swim Australian sea lions, bottlenose dolphins, cage dive, the most feared predator of the ocean, the great white shark, all in the natural environment, plus all the goodies we see on land. We have the Big Swamp, which is it's a listed Australian significance, and it's a wetland identified of international importance. These wetlands are highly valuable and water-dependent ecosystems with a large and ancient red gum forest, creating unique habitat for many different species of wildlife, but in particular, a huge amount of bird species, which include passerines and non-passerines, raptors, waterfowl, endangered emu wren, whipbird, 5 migratory waders, including the band and stint, which amazingly migrates from Siberia to breed here, which is 11,200 kilometres away. With the bird hide here, it makes a big part of our bird watching tours and a place to comfortably settle back and enjoy the viewing there. Coffin Bay is home of the world's best oysters, and say no more. We take you out on a journey to not only taste these beautiful, fresh and succulent oysters straight out of the rack, but with the actual oyster farmers who can explain the whole process of seed to sale, which is fascinating. It's also home to more dolphins per square metre than anywhere else in Australia. And we even have our own subspecies of dolphin, or common-nosed dolphin, the Burrawong dolphin. It's a beautiful thing to get out there and explore, and you'll see them every day once we're out at Coffin Bay. Other species too include the long-nosed fur seal and Australian sea lion as well, which you'll see part of our journey. 20 minutes away from the bay itself is the Coffin Bay National Park, and this is 31,000 hectares of incredible beaches, ancient sand dunes, bird life, great fishing, crystal clear waters of the Southern Ocean, huge amount of native wildlife, including large mobs of emus, particularly in the springtime, kangaroos, the bird life again, the Rosenberg goanna, and much, much more. Many four-wheel drive tracks. We explore the park and the surrounding areas. You're not going to see hardly anybody else around. Driving onto these beaches like this one here, which is included, cast out a line to catch the big Australian salmon, something we use for our evening dinner. And it's a beautiful place, part of one of the many that we see on our journey. Up at Bird Bay, and I mentioned before about the only place to swim with Australian sea lions and dolphins is the Eyre Peninsula, and in actual fact up at Bird Bay. This is seriously the best thing you can do with a wetsuit on, as these puppies of the ocean come right up to you, look at their reflection in your mask, and just want to play with you. The more you play with them, the more they're going to interact with you, and it's a incredible immersive experience. The journey from Port Lincoln to Bird Bay is some 300 kilometres away, but we break this journey up by calling into many of our secret locations on the way, such as viewing of cliff tops of this, which are 300 feet high, looking out to the west of the stunning Australian Bight and the Southern Ocean. We explore caves. We're travelling through the diversity of farming land, where we're going to meet many of the locals along our journeys. and it's a mixed up farming practices of sheep farming and also to grain farming. So it's a great drive. We also can all include a fixed wing private charter up to Bedway as well, just to make that journey a little bit shorter for you. Back down into Port Lincoln. Here we are, Australia's seafood capital, and for very good reason. Our pristine waters are a haven for producing seafood of the highest quality like kingfish, bluefin tuna, abalone, blue mussels, and we have the wild caught King George whiting, Spencer Gulf prawns, crayfish, cockles, crabs, squid, flathead, garfish, blue morlong, and the list goes on. Up at Torquay, this is a big part of our history, where in 1802, Captain Matthew Flinders, he discovered a water soak, of which he gathered 60,000 litres of precious water, which made him keep on discovering the coastline of southern Australia and all the way back to Sydney, where he was mapping and chartering for the English and obviously for us as well. But also too, not only that, it's a big part of our bird watching tours as well, whereas another hide down there full of marine and water birds. The Lincoln National Park, a little bit smaller than Coffin Bay, but it's one that we frequent very, very often. Again, much wildlife, incredible coastal treks, ideal for walks and to explore by foot or on our electric mountain bikes. And this is Mickerer Station here. And if there's anything better than this private property to see a host of our native wildlife, in particular the koalas, then take me there. There are kangaroos by the hundreds, there are mobs of emus, there are 160 native species of birds that reside here, making this a real natural haven to explore and immerse yourself amongst the big three of Australian wildlife. Again, if there's a better place to see koalas at low level, and this is all to do with the stunted trees that just happen to grow here, take me there. With our two-hour tour that we do through here, we'll see 50 to 60 different koalas at once, and again, at low level, and it is a beautiful, beautiful place with incredible flora and fauna, and it's one of my favourite places that we take people to, and to see the enjoyment of people's faces, to see all this wildlife up close and personable in a very immersive experience is one that we love doing. We recently included electric mountain bikes into our tree of offering, and these are an incredible, sustainable way to explore the region. We have 10 of these in various sizes, and they can cover a large distance in short time. Provide a good bit of fitness as well, and it's a wonderful thing to be able to enjoy in peace and nature, and see different parts of the wildlife, or types of wildlife, I should say, whilst you're on the journey on these bikes. We do this whale watching tour. These are the southern right whales, which start up in Ceduna on the far west of the Eyre Peninsula. We head out to the Bunda Cliffs, which is an incredible place, and Fowler's Bay to view the southern right whales, which make up one of the world's largest wildlife migrations as they travel from the Antarctica all the way up to Fowler's Bay and the head of the bike, which is nearly 6,000 kilometres to mate, to give birth and to socialise, to see these massive creatures up close and personal in a boating tour, and also by view from the binoculars of from the high points and the vantages of the cliff tops. It's a wonderful thing. The bulk of our tours are all tailor-made, and these are, pardon me, these are made to what our clients want, the length of time that they have here, their budgets, and exactly what they want to be doing. So we're utilising all of our resources that we've grown up here with, and from fishing to bird watching, to health and wellness, to agricultural products, to Indigenous components, to food, to wine, you name it, we can do it. Our accommodation, it ranges from a 4.5-star Port Lincoln Hotel, 110 rooms, to our very own South Point Beach House, a home away from home, with all the mod cons that you can enjoy there. So we do the touring, come back to stay at the beach house. We do the full catering there as well. And you've got some 31 metres from our deck to the lawn, to the beach, I'm sorry. Local food is in paramount of what we do, wine, spirits, and enjoy, guys. Many thanks for tuning in. We hope to see you down here in God's great garden. and you can enjoy some of this magnificent, the features, what you've just seen here. Thank you.
Wow. That was incredible. I think we're all sat here now on a very wet UK day, wishing we were wherever you guys are, to doing those incredible experiences. Thanks for joining us, Sab, David, John. I can see that agents have already been posting lots of comments and questions in the chat and the Q&A, so do please keep posting your questions or comments in there. I can see the agents are even answering some of the questions between themselves, which is good. So we've obviously got experts here as well. John, can I start with you? Can you tell us just a little bit more about Australian Wildlife Journeys? How many are there in your collective? You know, what are some of the other things you can do apart from these good gentlemen's offerings?
Yeah, thanks, April. So we're a collective of 12 experiences located all around Australia. And the common thread, we're all showcasing wildlife in the wild, like some of those beautiful pictures that we've just been looking at. So whether that be the marine environment, whether it be our land touring, whether you're into different passion points as well, bird watching, photography, diving, it's really been able to showcase those amazing passion points that so many of our travellers want, but doing it consistently. And that's certainly what the group offers, that high quality of guiding. And also that real conservation focus is important for us as well.
Yeah, sounds perfect. We've had a question here already. Sab, how many days would you recommend in Kakadu for clients who might be taking a multi-centre trip? So Kakadu is just one of their stops, but they want to get a really nice experience. How many days?
Minimum of 5 days, I would always say, because it gives you a good overall picture of what's there. But if they can spend longer, that's better. 3-day trips are too short now. You travel a long way to have a look at the top end, but it's just too short. So anything 5 days and above is perfect.
Brilliant. Okay. And you used the word safari in your presentation, which is something we usually associate with Australia, but obviously it just means kind of journey, doesn't it? And it's something that what you guys have to offer. You can use that term. So when you're talking to clients, you could say, how about an Australian safari, for example? Sam?
Yeah. I as said in the presentation, I've been to Africa 25 times plus, and I could see that we were always second best to Africa. So I started using the word safari because a lot of overseas people understood what a safari was, and it shows your importance of basically what you were trying to do. It's not just jump on another bus or something like that. It's getting down to the ground level.
Sure. Okay. And what would you say are some of the best times of year to visit Top End with nature and wildlife in mind, Sab? There are lots of potential on you today.
I always say to people, we're trying to push March and April for people who want to go to Bamaru and Davison's, because we're guaranteed accommodation at most. But a year like this year, if you were up there now, just the scenery is just spectacular with the water, because we've had so much rain. It's just amazing. I say, like people say, oh, we'll come at the end of October or November. I just flatly, I don't operate from the second week after October, because it's just far too hot and there's no water. Mm-hmm. September's a good time to come for lots of birds, like you get massive concentrations of birds. But it's, I just think, if you can come March, April, May, the first 2 weeks of June, and then after the school holidays, third week onwards after July, because school holidays is just, it's mayhem up our way, because it's mostly all Southerners coming up and a lot of school groups. So it's, yeah.
Okay, cool. We've got a question here from Georgia. She says, is there a term to use for Australian wildlife similar to, say, the Big Five in Africa or the Big Four in Sri Lanka? What do you say are the big in Australia, John?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. We often have stated that you can see the Big Five iconics in Australia, and we'd say that would be the kangaroo, the koala, the echidna, the wombat, and the platypus. Some may argue that the emu should be in there as well, so let's call it a Big Six. But I guess the wildlife around Australia is so different. A lot of people obviously have that perception of those 5 or 6 iconics, but obviously what you're going to see up with SAB is completely different experience, and the bird life is just outstanding. So everywhere around Australia,
Yeah.
as you know, it's diverse, has something to offer aside from those, I guess, big 5 or big 6 that we'd typically talk about.
Yeah. Sure. And David, your part of the world just looked amazing. You must feel pretty blessed to live, work somewhere like that, doing what you obviously find very, very passionately that you do. What would you suggest are some of the must-dos? Again, if people have only got maybe a short period of time to spend with you in your part of the world, what are some of the must-dos from the things you showed there?
Well, it's thanks, April, but it's a bit of a hard call, really. I think the majority of people were spending around 3 days, 3 nights here, and don't quite expect to see and experience and taste everything what they are doing. But I mean, as I said, particularly down at Mikara Station, where there is that incredible wildlife interaction, particularly koalas at low level, and the kangaroos, and the emus, and the other bird species. I think that whole place is just incredible, including the scenery as well. So if you can picture sitting around there at the end of the day, having a happy hour with a local gin and tonic and or a wine or a beer with a platter of food, that's a big thing. But it's the coastline too. It's incredible. You know, there's 2,000 kilometres of beautiful, untapped, raw, rugged coastline. As you saw on that video, that's exactly how you have it, where there's nobody else around. And I think most people are generally wanting to have that real remote experience where you don't actually come across anyone, and so that's where it's a very personalised experience. And I just see Kenny Garrity, he's commented here and down here a couple months ago. So he can sort of testify of what we do. But there's a big food component as well, being the seafood capital of Australia. And there's a lot of adventure. You know, the forward driving through the sand dunes as well. So that's a big one. The oysters out at Coffin Bay is always high up on people's experiences. They don't actually really awares of, again, what they're going to be doing, but to have a real life lesson on how oysters are grown from seed to sale, and sampling these obviously is a big thing. But one thing I think you can't do anywhere in the regional areas, and Sab would attest to this as well, but meeting local people. These can be a fisherman, a farmer, just a mate of ours down the road, and learning their stories is a very, very friendly environment. And that's something which you actually can't really market because it just sort of happens. And it's that's a highlight as well.
Cool, thank you. John, is there anything new, any hot news for agents that they need to know to familiarise themselves, maybe about special places to stay, or anything that you're offering as an organisation for agents specifically?
Yeah, I think the exciting addition has been the recent video and photography shoots with Tourism Australia. There's been a huge project over the last couple of years, and all of the members, as part of Australian Wildlife Journeys, have had an opportunity to go out and shoot some new hospitality images, which I know it's really important when you're obviously trying to market to your clients what's out there. So we've got these beautiful videos that we can leverage, and in addition to that, upgrades to a lot of our other assets through the Tourism Australia portal, including the Aussie Specialist module. So that's a really great way to make sure you're getting all the updated information and any changes that have occurred over the last couple of years.
Brilliant, thank you. And Lisa has asked, could we have all your contact details, please? Lisa, Sarah's just answered for us. If you hover over their pictures, you'll see their email addresses. And Australian Wildlife Journeys does have their little virtual stand back out in the virtual lobby. So I'm sure John has put lots of interesting information and things you can download and get your contact details from there. That's all we've got time for in this session, I'm afraid, guys. And I'm sure we could have just spoken about wildlife and the incredible natural side of Australia for a long time. But seriously, thank you for giving your time and creating those amazing videos. And hopefully our agents will send some clients or themselves down to see you very soon. Thank you so much, guys. We will be we'll be back at 11 o'clock for the Hague's chocolate session. Again, to reiterate, if you didn't get the chocolates sent to you, please do still join us, because there'll be tons of information you can pick up just generally. And who knew that Australia was so good at chocolate apart from Tim Tams? We'll see you back at 11 o'clock. Thank you very much.